The FIM Endurance World Championship opens up the 2012 season with a historic Bol d'Or event. The 24-hour endurance race celebrates its 76th edition in an April encounter at Magny-Cours. This year's Endurance World Championship season features 5 rounds, beginning with a gruelling 24-hour race in the legendary Bol d'Or event. From France, it's on to Qatar and the 8 Hours of Doha, held at the Losail International Circuit of the Arab Emirate. The global tour continues with a visit to Japan, where the Suzuka 8 Hours pits regular competitors against the best local wildcard talent. Then it's back to Europe for the Oschersleben 8 Hours competition, an event not featured on the 2011 calendar. That sets up the series for a grand finale in France and the prestigious Le Mans 24-hour race that closes 2012.
The strongest team in Magny-Cours and the 2012 FIM Endurance World Championship will again be the Suzuki Endurance Racing Team. They have 3 strong riders with a lot of experience between them. However, their main rivals will be the BMW Motorrad France team.
And that's just for starters. Mako Racing are also a team to beat with a lineup of Jason Pridmore, Gregory Junod and Greg Black. Kawasaki have been at their best in endurance competition over recent years, and privateer outfit Bolliger Team Switzerland have spent the past 2 seasons there or thereabouts. Will they grab a win in 2012? Another team of privateers are some series regulars from Spain. With a new title sponsor to boot, Yamalube Folk Endurance are back for another push. The main Yamaha team is the Yacht outfit, the 2009 champions who had a disappointing 2012. Riding a souped-up R1 and with experience on their side, they are certain to feature in the podium fight. SRC Kawasaki are Team Green's main hope for the title, the squad who have seen particular success at Le Mans in recent years. It's another French roundup first this time, with a chance to establish an early advantage. Yamaha GMT 94 arrive at Magny-Cours, having taken victory at the final race of last season. On winning form, a consistent title challenge could be theirs this time around. One of the biggest and best teams in the Endurance World Championship, BMW Motorrad France took the title race down to the final meeting last season. With backing from BMW and Michelin behind them, watch out for this Franco-Belgian team in 2012. To win, however, they will have to best cert. Champions for the past 2 seasons, Dominique Mellion's all-French trio are taking the Suzuki GSX R1000 out for a chance at a title three-peat.
The big signing this year has been Fabien Foray for the Suzuki Endurance Racing Team. Fabien was the Supersport World Champion in the year 2002 and has a huge amount of motorsports experience behind him. However, he's been away from endurance racing for 11 years and he's making his return this year in 2012.
I enjoy, 24 hours from what I remember, and yeah, it's typical, like French and very different. So yeah, I would love to refresh my mind and to see what it is to win a 24-hour again.
We're here on the grid and the racing is just about to start. The riders are suited up, the bikes are in action, and there's expectating crowds. In front of us is going to be some of the best 24-hour racing, endurance racing you'll ever see. The 76th edition of the Bol d'Or race here in Magny-Cours.
The grid packed, rainy conditions. Vincent Philippe was the only rider to ride a lap in 1 minute 39 at Magny-Cours. That put him on pole position, qualifying cert in the top spot for the 76th Bol d'Or for the third consecutive year. SRC Kawasaki were in second place on the back of performances by Julien Da Costa, Gregory Leblanc and Olivier Faure. And it was a packed grid and the umbrellas put to good use. Cert starting in front, SRC Kawasaki in second. And over 55 teams lining up for this, the 76th Bol d'Or, an event held at Magny-Cours since the year 2000 and with an even longer history than that. Final preparations underway for the opening race of the 2012 season. Also, one of the front runners in qualifying was the Yamaha France GMT 94 team. Their success not shared by Kenny Foray, who crashed, although without any serious damage in qualifying. The French official Yamaha team is still ahead of BMW Motorrad France teamed the event. Pole position though going to Cert, second to Kawasaki. The Superstock teams mixing amongst the EWC outfits on the Bol d'Or grid. Some 55 teams in action for round one. 24 hours of racing about to get underway. And it's the trademark endurance Le Mans start at Magny-Cours to get things underway. A sprint to the bikes. And the race was underway at 3 p.m. local time in France. A whole shot taken by the expected leading teams, Cert out in front early. And also an early crash on one of the opening laps for Team R2CL. The dubious honour of being the first team to crash in the 2012 Endurance World Championship season. Cert going strong early on, as expected, the 2011 World Champions. The team on pole position for the Bol d'Or, being chased by BMW Motorrad France. BMW Motorrad France, the team who pushed the title race right down to the wire in 2011. They opened up 2012 with 2 crashes in free practice which wrecked their BMW bikes. They were one of the first teams into the pits for a rider changeover. After a speedy switch, they were out back on track. TRT 27 City bike fell at the same spot as R2CL. Treacherous conditions at Magny-Cours with some light rainfall wettening the track. SRC Kawasaki going well early on though. Always a favourite on French soil. Riding with Julien Da Costa first of all, Gregory Leblanc and Olivier Faure, his teammates. The winners of the previous 2 events at Le Mans. This is Magny-Cours, where they hadn't won for some 30 years. Their main rivals likely to be Cert, who came into the pits while the Honda TT legends, back for a second consecutive season, were pushing forward on track. All this in the opening hour or so at the Bol d'Or. Suzuki no problems on the switchover. They'd pulled out a 7.9 second lead before lap 5. A solid advantage over SRC Kawasaki. 3D Endurance Moto Center, the leading team in the Superstock class early on. And Bolliger Team Switzerland going well so far, making their first change. One of the outstanding privateer outfits in the Endurance World Championship. Didn't have the best of campaigns back in 2011. Looking to regain some of that form from 2010. The best team in 2009, Yacht. Also getting away to a problem-free start at Manicourt. The French fireman team of Team 18, Sapeur-Pompiers, were one of the first crashers at their home event. But the first notable fall came for Damien Kudlin from BMW Motorrad France. One of the title and race victory favourites, falling in the treacherous rain conditions. An exhausted Australian having to drag the bike back to the pits where it would receive some attention from the mechanics. Meanwhile, back on track, Yamaha GMT France 94. We're trying to push up into a podium position early on in the Bol d'Or. Damien Kudlin had been riding in third place for BMW. His crash leaving the Yamaha team to move one place up the order. Kawasaki and Sert, the front runners after the early pit stops. They were both duking it out at the head of the field in BMW's absence. Just before the end of the opening 2 hours, Julien Da Costa had passed his bike on to Gregory Leblanc and rejoined the race in third. Suzuki just out in front after that, as the race reached the 2 hour mark. SRC Kawasaki, though, would have to come in for a quick pit stop and a rider changeover just after the 2 hour point. That meant that Sert could establish an advantage whilst Kawasaki were refueling. Undisputed leaders of the Bol d'Or, and without Team Green by their sides, slowing down their laps and trying to overtake them at various points on the circuit. Sert had established such an advantage that they were able to make a pit stop on lap 144, but saw them re-emerge with a 9-second lead intact. Meanwhile, BMW Motorrad France 99 finally gave up the ghost at 5:20 p.m. with Sébastien Guimbert making a slow tour back to the pits. Race over for BMW at Motorrad France.
No, let's say, okay, the problem for sure was that Damien had an accident, and we repaired the bike, and we request to Sebastian to only make one lap in the beginning, and then we had a small problem. We tried to fix it, and he tried to go out again, but still it is impossible to solve this problem here on the circuit, so this is why we had to stop the race.
Game over then for BMW Motorrad France. Meanwhile, the pit stops were coming thick and fast. Another one for Sert. Anthony Delal making way after a steady stint on board the GSX R1000. On track, the Honda TT Legends were looking to be in strong form. They'd had a disappointing rookie season in the Endurance World Championship. A team still capable of springing a surprise, however. Luit Moto 33 were the leading Superstock outfit after the 3-hour mark. They were being pursued by another Superstock team, though. And that team was namely junior team LMS Suzuki. A team who eventually got past Luit Moto 33. In the battle for the podium spots early on, Yacht were pushing forward, making their way through the field. Igor German heading the Yamaha Austria team's charge. Many teams choosing the 3-hour mark to make a handy switchover. Tiredness already beginning to set in, and some retirements as well after early crashes. A 24-hour race brought to a conclusion for some teams, and the appearance of the flag to signify a wet race would only cause more problems. There was a crash for Sert as they attempted to head in to pit lane. Luckily, only a short trek back to the box where the bike was examined. There was a small crash and Vincent is being treated. It's nothing serious, but it's looking like a collarbone fracture for him. If so, his race is over. That would leave Sert down to 2 riders and SRC Kawasaki with the advantage. They led the way after 4 hours. Yamaha GMT 94 bringing up the rear. Monster Energy Yamaha Yacht were up into 3rd place after the appearance of the flag. Rain began to pour down on the Boldor almost dead on at 7 p.m. That meant an unscheduled tyre change for Yamaha Racing France GMT 94. It was a pit stop which allowed Yacht to move up into 2nd. Mathieu Lagrive retook the position soon after re-entering the fray. Meanwhile, there were some examinations going on in the box for Vincent Philippe after that crash, heading into pit lane. Some repairs also being made to the bike. Sert looking to regain the advantage that they had conceded to SRC Kawasaki once the rain had come down at Manicourt. And with GMT 94 in the pits, Sert took over and they occupied 2nd place. SRC Kawasaki with a perfect strategy up front to maintain their lead. Still light at Manicourt, darkness imminent for the riders, and then it becomes a whole different game. SRC Kawasaki in the best position so far, touring around on the wet conditions. Junior Team LMS Suzuki likewise leading the super stock category, lower down the overall order. At least some good fortune for a Suzuki outfit, albeit in the secondary category, the super stock class. They were some 3 laps clear of 3D Endurance Moto. Pens 13 Craftwork a further lap down. AM Motor Racing also challenging. Another pit stop for Sert then. Trying to make up time in the pits, down to 2 riders. Set to be an exhausting Boldor event for the 2 remaining competitors, including newcomer Fabien Foret, making his return to endurance racing after some 11 years away. The teams all making pit stops before darkness fell. Temperatures dropping on track. Plenty of teams going for the softer tyre just before 7:30 p.m. And then it was lights on for Suzuki. Would they see the light at the end of the tunnel at the end of the 24-hour endurance race? They would have it difficult with a reduced team. Vincent Philippe confirmed as having a fractured collarbone in that incident. Under the tricky conditions when the track was just being wetted by some damp spraying rain. Darkness almost completely descending on Manicourt. That would turn things into a night race between the 55 teams in action at the Boldor. Just some quick time to take on some sustenance in between pit stops. The riders, though, would have to be alert. The safety car came out just after 9:30 p.m. That was thanks to a crash involving AM Moto Racing Competition and Loïc Motomail Performance 33. The 2 teams were battling for second place in the Superstock class. Difficult moments on a damp track. In almost complete darkness, the safety car just bunching back up the riders. SRC Kawasaki still out in front, then Suzuki Endurance Racing Team moving their way up with the appearance of the safety car, Yamaha GMT 94 in 3rd place.
So the night has fallen, but the racing will continue. We have been racing now for almost 7 hours, but time now for colder temperatures, more tired riders, and a lot more difficult conditions.
Sert continued to cut the gap overnight, although SRC Kawasaki remained at the head of the field. They clocked some steady laps and had some problem-free changeovers. That enabled their strategy to work to perfection. They had a few unknowns which gave them the advantage, notably Sert's earlier setback. And that crash out for BMW Motorrad France, eliminating another rival from SRC Kawasaki's path. Overtaking so difficult in the conditions. The night action consisting of riders just trying to put in some steady laps, keeping consistent, And most of the overtakes being done in the pits. Yamaha GMT 94. One of the better teams on the changeovers. Monster Energy Yamaha Yacht. One of the teams challenging them for the final podium spot. It looked as if the race was going to go down to SRC Kawasaki against CERT. The Honda TT Legends also aiming for a podium push a couple of laps back on Yacht and Yamaha GMT France 94. Volk Endurance always an outside shot for a rostrum position. One of these smaller outfits, a privateer team from Spain with plenty of history in endurance competition. Not one of the big names, but certainly a team capable of a podium shock. Benz 13, Kraftwerk, were out in front. One of the leaders of the Superstock category. DG Sport trying to chase them down after some earlier problems. And the Bolliger team were forced to retire from the race after 314 laps. The race over for the Swiss privateer team. That would mean just one Kawasaki outfit on track. The leaders, SRC Kawasaki, representing Team Green. CERT continuing to ring the changes. Just for two riders. An exhausting Bol d'Or for the two remaining participants. SRC Kawasaki with a one-man advantage. All the big names coming into the pits overnight. Yamaha GMT 94, the next into the garage. No rest for the Yamaha French outfit. Quick changes in personnel, not too much refueling being done. Yacht with a decent fuel management policy, sending out their riders to compete for that third spot in the race and, who knows, perhaps challenge for the win. In the Superstock category, things were becoming slightly clearer. Star Team 67 pushing for a top 3 place. Having to contend with the likes of DG Sport. The team who are next up into the garage. Time for some rest for the mechanics in varying positions. The positions on track, though, indicating SRC Kawasaki the favourites for the victory. A morning overtake from Suzuki Endurance Racing Team, though, put them ahead of SRC Kawasaki. Yamaha GMT France 94 were in third place.
We're now entering the final stages of the race, and it has been a really, really tough night. Some teams didn't even make it. For example, Team Bollinger Switzerland behind me already out with a gearbox problem. However, the teams that are remaining are fighting to the bitter end. But as we all know with endurance racing, anything can happen.
It was an early morning overtake from CERT, which put them up in front. That came after a long morning pit stop for brake fluid and an oil change for SRC Kawasaki. They would take the lead for the first time since Vincent Philippe's crash at 6:48 p.m. on Saturday evening. It would be up to SRC Kawasaki then to chase back the lead. Against all odds, CERT out in front again. However, once again, the positions would be decided in the pits. SRC Kawasaki making the quicker change and going out in front. It was a very difficult night. We were around 3 laps behind Suzuki. We were the fastest riders when the weather conditions started to change and the rain arrived. It is going to be a great fight against Sert for the rest of the race.
Il est en train d'essayer de creuser l'écart sur la Suzuki, mais ça reste très serré.
Sert then in contention for the victory. How would their riders hold up? Anthony Delal and Fabien Fauré, the remaining 2 for Suzuki Endurance Racing Team. Meanwhile, Yamaha GMT 94 were having a strange race.
To be honest, we are a little bit disappointed because it is very strange. We don't know why, but the bike was not working like before. 2 months with a very fast bike, riders so happy with the new traction control, the new electronic, etc. And from the beginning of the race, impossible to have the same rhythm, same pace than usual. And we will, of course, put the bike on a bench to check what happened. By chance, we have absolutely no problem, just they have less power and we don't know why.
There was a big issue as well for Honda TT Legends. They had a crash on the straight on Sunday morning. Cameron Donald losing the front at speed and having to drag his bike back to the garage. Seems reminiscent of the Damien Kudlin crash for BMW Motorrad France. That would leave 1 less contender for 3rd place. Yacht, one of those teams pushing for the rostrum. Cameron Donald losing the front and also almost losing the tank. Plenty of running repairs to be done in the Honda TT Legends garage. Sert had experienced problems earlier on. Things were going swimmingly though on a wet Manicours track as we approached midday on Sunday. They had moved up into the lead. SRC Kawasaki, their main rivals. The Honda TT Legends finally able to resume action. Trying to jump start that Honda CBR. Finally getting it going. And they were back out to mount their challenge in the Bol d'Or. No problems upon resuming the race for the Honda TT Legends. The repairs done, only time lost. Cameron Donald not seriously hurt. In the Superstock class, Pens 13, Kraftwerk were one of the leading teams. The Superstock category seeing plenty of changes of leadership and also some crashes for the teams in the fight for the rostrum. 3D Endurance were one of those. The team headed up by Valentin Debise, an endurance veteran. And here are the standings after 21 hours. SRC Kawasaki only just ahead of Suzuki Endurance Racing Team, the leading Superstock outfit, 3D Endurance Moto. Suzuki pushing ahead of SRC Kawasaki. Again, light rainbow on track. Such difficult conditions for all the teams out there. Suzuki Endurance Racing Team have seen it all before, though. They were trying to put themselves into the best possible position in the final few hours of the Bol d'Or. Fabien Foret feeling the pinch. SRC Kawasaki just trying to manage their strategy to try and ensure that they ended the race ahead of Sert. Still just under 3 hours to go in the 2012 Bol d'Or. The contest set to go down to the wire. 6 laps behind in the battle for third, Yamaha GMT 94 France were also within sight of Yacht. Could they reel in their French rivals before the end of the race? The difference at the head of the field, less than a lap between SRC Kawasaki and Sert. It didn't look as if Yacht would be able to catch either of those two teams. They did have the option of catching up though with Yamaha GMT France 94. Very little in it up front, Sert and SRC Kawasaki. Would it come down to durability? Would it come down to fatigue for the Sert team? Down to 2 riders. The potential reduced by a third. Falck Endurance moving up into the top 5. Yamaha GMT France 94 riding on their own, but having to watch out behind them with Yacht hot on their heels. Falck Endurance out quickly from the pits. No problem for the Spanish team as they laid down some consistent lap times. What there was, however, was late problems for Sert. A run-off track, a mechanical issue, creating some difficulties for the Suzuki Endurance Racing team. That would mean a quick stop in the pits, just to look things over. SRC Kawasaki were in the pits as well. That was an expected stop though for Team Green. They get in just ahead of Sert. The race resembling a sprint in the final 3 hours or so. And as important as the action on track was, the movement in the garage could very well decide things. SRC Kawasaki in front with an hour to go. Sert on the same lap as them, behind in second. Yacht in contention for that third spot in the 2012 Bol d'Or. Igor Schumann stepping off the bike, Steve Martin waiting with the visor cleaner. Yacht, an experienced team.
Wow, this is probably one of the most exciting 24-hour races we ever had. So anyway, we made calculation that it can become very, very close. But we did not expect that we can pass them. But it's not finished yet, so both teams have to refuel, we as well, so all can happen.
It was that long refueling that lost a bit of time for Yacht. A necessary evil though, as they look to put enough fuel in the tank to take them to the end of the Bol d'Or and not have to come in, weighing up the strategy against Yamaha GMT France 94. SRC Kawasaki, the leaders of the Bol d'Or, heading into the final few laps. An exhausting event at Magny-Cours. Some 781 laps of the Magny-Cours circuit shared between the three riders competing for Team Green. The two riders of the Suzuki Endurance Racing Team just behind SRC Kawasaki. This one will go right down to the wire. That battle for 40 points and the top standing in the championship at the opening round of 2012 in the FIM Endurance World Championship season. Sert carving up the field. Less than a lap in it between they and SRC Kawasaki. And Yacht right alongside Yamaha GMT 94. The Austrian team overtaking the French outfit. 3D Endurance Motor Center looking on course for victory in the super stock category. They'd put in almost 750 laps with less than an hour to go. The final pit stop for SRC Kawasaki. Tensions at a high. SRC Kawasaki looking to take victory at the Bol d'Or. A first Kawasaki win in 30 years in the prestigious event. And it would be an SRC Kawasaki win after a strenuous 781 lap battle against Sert. It was they who took maximum points. Sert in second, Yacht coming in third, closely followed by the Yamaha France GMT 94 team. Rounding out the top five, another Yamaha team, Yamalube Folk Endurance. A valiant effort from Sert. Yacht doing well to take that third rostrum place. The win, though, goes to SRC Kawasaki. A burnout for good measure, joined by 3D Moto Endurance, the super stock winner. A great win for Team Green. A triumph of consistency, no problems for SRC Kawasaki. Celebrations going on down in pit lane. Gilles Staffler congratulated on his team's win. The final standings, SRC Kawasaki ahead of Sert. Yacht in third, Yamaha GMT France 94 just missing out on that final podium spot.
La course était assez compliquée parce
It was a very difficult race due to the pain, the weather conditions and everything else that made it so hard. The team had a great performance and had some good pit stops. It was an excellent race for us.
Yeah, it was very hard to us to push to stay on the two first positions. We had some troubles with a good gap when we had 2 laps on the Suzuki, and we had a bit of chance when the rain is coming, and we push a little bit and we take the first position and we stay like that. It's perfect.
The final standings in the Superstock class, 3D Endurance Motor Center, the winners on 750 laps, just one ahead of Penn's 13 Craftwork. Star Team 67, third place in the Bol d'Or and, of course, in the overall standings. In the headline event, the EWC class, SRC Kawasaki take the series lead. Cert in second, Monster Energy Yacht in third place to start off 2012. Plenty more races to go though. The podium caps off the Boldor event. First for the Superstock class, 3D Moto Endurance taking a hard-fought victory at the Boldor. Some of their rivals had crashed out, some had brought out the safety car. 3D Moto Endurance bring out the trophy presented by FIM President Vito Ippolito. The EWC podium then, SRC Kawasaki on top, taking victory for a Kawasaki team for the first time in 30 years at the Boldor. Cert in second, Yacht in third.
The Honda TT Legends team will race with 3 new riders here in Qatar. Samsung Honda riders Michael Laverty and Jason O'Hallahan will team up with former British Superbike champion Ryushi Kiyonari for the 8 Hours of Doha. While Laverty is new to the sport of endurance, Kiyonari and O'Hallahan have had experiences before. Kiyonari's even won the legendary 8 Hours of Suzuki race in Japan 4 times before, so we have high hopes for him for this weekend.
New riders in for the Honda TT Legends in their second season of action in endurance.
For this weekend in preparation for the event, it's been quite difficult because we missed out on a few practice sessions here. Obviously it's new for Michael and for Jason riding in the night.
Starting out in endurance is never easy, and there are personal preferences to take into account as well.
Jason and Michael have had a particular tyre choice direction, and Ryuichi Kiyonari in a particular other direction, which has all been resolvable. However, like I say, the main thing really is that the night sessions is something that's very, very new for 2 of them, and it's just overcoming those hurdles that we're going to see tonight.
Although inexperienced as a group, they nonetheless have the talent to take the fight to the established names.
It is going to be difficult. You know, both the riders and Kiyo especially have commented at, like I say, the track time and the circuit knowledge. It's not something that they're familiar with here, so they've really got to dig in, I think.
Another challenge awaits for the Honda TT Legends.
After the Boldor 24 Hours, the FIM Endurance World Championship faces 3 8-hour races in a row. Now, these races are going to be shorter, but doesn't mean that they're going to be any less difficult. Relays and strategies are affected from race to race. So what are these changes? And what's the difference between the relays and the brakes in a 24-hour race and in an 8-hour race?
In a series in which 24-hour events are the classic contests, an 8-hour race is a relative sprint for the Endurance World Championship. That means a change in strategy.
Basically, you know, we try always to use the full fuel capacity. That means we relate our relay a little bit about fuel consumption, which is basically in the beginning of the race, same strategy that we do also in the 24-hour race. Look that we can stay outside as long as possible to have less as possible time in the garage.
With tiredness less of a factor than in 24-hour contests, there is a certain freedom when changing strategy on the fly.
I think on the 8 hour you can adapt a little bit the last 2 hours to see if you are a little bit in front or if you are close to somebody, if you have a fight, so you can adjust this a little bit, but the first 6 hours for sure everybody go to the max.
That might even mean leaving something in reserve early on, depending on team preference.
Yeah, we have normally we have always this strategy that we make 8-hour races with 2 riders, but I think this time here under this condition we will, I think maybe start with 2 riders to make 1 or 2 stops, and then we have to see their condition, and then maybe we will jump the third rider into it.
As with any strategy, there can sometimes be setbacks. It all went perfectly for BMW last season at the 8 Hours of Albacete, but at last year's event in Doha, any plans and title aspirations were thrown into disarray by an early collision with another rider.
Yamaha is the king of the 8 Hours of Doha, having 3 out of 5 victories, but with 2 official Yamaha teams. That's Yamaha France in the year 2011 and also Yamaha Austria in the year 2009 and 2007. The other 2 races were won by the Suzuki Endurance Racing team. So if they win here this weekend, they could be the first team to win 3 times at the Qatar racetrack. But one thing is for sure, the 8 Hours of Doha is not going to make it easy for them.
The grid for the 8 Hours of Doha has BMW Motorrad France on the pole position. Rider Erwan Nigon taking the fastest time in qualifying, the only rider to go round in the 2-minute mark, a time of 2 minutes .910. Behind them the Yacht team and Cert. Cert who won the championship at Doha last season. Yamaha GMT 94, the team who won the last 8 Hours of Doha. There's the Bolliger team also high up on the order. And we have 2 Qatari teams for this event. And a new entrant, Anthony West, undertakes his first endurance contest. The Honda TT Legends have plenty of replacements. There's Ryoichi Kiyonari. And Falk Endurance always there or thereabouts. It's going to be an intriguing contest with a few newcomers at Losail. One thing stays the same though, the typical Le Mans start. BMW Motorrad France, the event, the pole position team, Yacht, Cert, and Yamaha France GMT behind them. Plenty of riders as well from the Superstock category looking for glory this weekend in the 8 Hours of Doha. About to get underway with round 2 of the 2012 FIM Endurance World Championship. Nervous moments, some experienced competitors, but a first time taking on the Le Mans start for some of these riders. Underway at Losail. It will be a strong start from the pole position team, BMW France. Servo taking the whole shot with Yacht behind them. It was going to be a long old race. Remember early on in the 2011 event, BMW and Cert battling it out, but Yacht also involved, and the Yacht stand-in rider taking out BMW Motorrad France's Erwan Nigon, and thus denying them a chance at the title early on in the 8 Hours of Doha in 2011. Cert and Yacht battling up front early on. And after 2 hours, BMW Motorrad France were the leaders of the 2012 8 Hours of Doha. Sebastian Gimbert, Damien Kudlin and Erwin Nigon, the riders on the BMW. Cert with a regular lineup of Vincent Philippe back from injury alongside Anthony Dalal and Yukio Kagayama. They were third, only just ahead of the Bolliger team and the Honda TT Legends. The Qatar Endurance Racing team fielding newcomer Anthony West. A mixed team for this 2012 event, their home round with Nina Prince as well. And there was an early incident involving Falk Endurance that led to the safety car coming up, the pack closing up once more. Just making things a little more cosy, the fall for Daniel Ribalta from Falk Endurance, leaving liquid on the track. That would have to be cleaned up by the track marshals, and the rider would have to bring the bike back to the pit. Adjustments to be made before the riders could get back out there. One of the most experienced privateer teams in the World Championship, Falk Endurance, back for another season in 2012. Meanwhile, the first pit stops coming into play. It's the Pens 13 Craftwork team in the Superstock class.
Oh, Qatar was never a very lucky place for me. I come here since many years, my third year here in Endurance now. And 3 times that we have the pole. The first year we crashed, last year we lost here the World Championship title in lap 12 when the Yamaha rider he crashed into us. So still for us it's crossing finger that we can win this race this time.
The pit stop changes being made. The TT Legends undertaking their first change of stints. Kiyonari having led off the makeshift TT Legends team, making way for Michael Laverty, a competitor in British Superbikes. Certain Yacht battling out at the front. The Yacht team with a star replacement rider of their own, Noriyuki Haga, the stand-in for Steve Martin in this event, accompanying Igor German and Gwen Giovanni at Losail. Yamaha GMT 94 with a few early problems. That would more or less halt their chances of victory. BMW going strong at the start. They were the leaders after 2 hours. Always a strong team at Losail, but haven't been able to get the race result. Yacht making a decent show of things. Nitro Nori on board the Yamaha. His schedule freed up for competition from his move to British Superbikes from World Superbikes. A weekend off for Noriyuki Haga. He makes the move over to race in Endurance. That freed up schedule also allows Michael Laverty to compete in this 8 hours of Doha for the Honda TT Legends. The Bolliger team going slow and steady, riding solo at the 2 hour mark. The sun gradually going down. Falk Endurance ready to emerge from the garage again after that crash for Daniel Ribalta.
I arrive in the end of the stage line. I see only the yellow flag, no the yellow and red flag. When I see the yellow flag, I think what happened, maybe possible one crash or something. After I see in the floor shine, and just think it's maybe oil and just an after crash. Now it's okay, coming up in the top, but it's difficult.
One team who did have to retire though, the No Limits outfit, who were forced to pull out with a mechanical issue.
Just a few laps of the race, we broken the engine, and the rider fortunately is okay, no crash, and but the race is finished.
Night falling at the Losail International Circuit, the riders putting the lights on. Yacht, one of the leading teams early on, BMW Motorrad France though, taking off from pole and leading the way ahead of them. Volk Endurance back on track, having spent that long period in the garage. Another Qatari team out on track as well. The second Quirt team featuring Elena Rosell. Another mixed outfit from the Qataris, splitting up the pack of this endurance racing season. Yamaha GMT 94 heading into the pits, the winners of last year's event, remember, making a speedy change. Yacht soon to follow. Another swift stop by the riders looking to get out in front. Changeover for the second home side. And the first side coming in as well. Nina Prince, having undertaken one of her first stints, making way for one of her teammates was BMW. Were out in front, a solid advantage for the team on the SR 1000. The standings after 2 hours: BMW Motorrad France, the leaders, ahead of Yacht, ahead of Cert, and ahead of the Bolliger team. The Honda TT Legends down in 5th and in 6th. And leaders of the Superstock class, the Quirt team. 4 hours in then, BMW Motorrad France still setting the pace. They had extended a 2-lap advantage over the Bolliger team in the Arabian Night, pulling well ahead of a team of Horst Steiger, Roman Stam and Jerome Tangre on the Kawasaki ZX-10R privateer bike. Honda TT Legends up into 3rd at the halfway mark as Ryuichi Kiyonari, Michael Laverty and Jason O'Hallahan pushed on in their role as substitute riders. First time riding at night for O'Hallahan. Kiyonari though, a dab hand at this, a veteran of the Suzuka 8 Hours. Yamaha GMT at 94 with some problems shortly after the 2-hour mark.
Just after 4 laps, we have seen David Checa slower, and he did the stint complete, and just during the space car he stopped, and he said the bark is too hot. So just we've had water, then we've crossed the fingers, then with Mathieu Lagrive the bike is also too hot, so we change the radiator and now we wait.
The team eventually giving up the ghost after 56 laps shortly after AM Motor Racing competition had made their departure from the Doha race. CERT also having some issues, 2 unplanned trips to the pits in the third hour of the race, dropping down from 3rd to 9th due to a faulty oil line issue. That allowed Yacht to move up the order, but they then had some even more serious problems. They descended to 13th when they had an engine malfunction. Up to that point, they had been right on the tail of BMW in the lead of the race. Changeovers going swimmingly up till then. German Giovanni and Nori Haga working to perfection until their Yamaha R1 said otherwise. Riding in the dark and hot on the heels of the leaders of the Superstock class, Pens 13 at Kraftwerk. They were chasing down the Quirt team, featuring regular Moto2 World Championship rider Anthony West. Alongside Al Malki and Prince. Two Qatar endurance racing teams avoiding a coming together in the third hour of competition, then coming in for a swift pit stop.
We expect to have a good result, but in endurance, as I told before, you never know what happens. Now we are managing the situation, we are leading the race from the beginning, almost from the beginning, and well, we'll see.
Very impressive performance from the Qatar endurance racing team at the midway point, just 3 laps down on race leaders BMW Motorrad France. The BMW squad leading the way in the Endurance World Championship. Reasons to be cheerful for the team.
I think for this moment, bike is running well. Riders are happy, tires are working well. So for this moment, there is not no big drama. I think we are able to go like in a little bit like 1 second, 1.5 seconds faster than the other guys. We take a little bit rhythm out now since half an hour, just to secure the next left 5 hours, and let's see what is coming.
The pit stops working well for BMW, not conceding the lead for even a second after taking it almost definitively on the opening lap. No team able to match BMW at the moment. 4 hours in, they were out in front. The Bolliger team, the closest to them, moving up to second. Winners of the Boldor SRC Kawasaki not present at this event. Hence the Bolliger team, the only representatives of Team Green. DG Sport also going strong in the Superstock class. One of those teams in hot pursuit of the Qatar Endurance Racing team.
Well, race is good. Let's say not that good because we have problems on the second relay with the rear tire. So we lose some precious time on the second stint. And here we lost some some big time on the change. But yeah, human mistake is possible, and voila. But the race is long. It's still more than 4 hours to go. And we have a good strategy. So I hope it pays off, and we will see at the end where we can be.
Optimism from DG Sport. That in the Superstock class in the Endurance World Cup, though. Disappointment for Yacht. A persistent engine problem for the former world champions, leading to their retirement from the 8 Hours of Doha. Suzuki Endurance Racing Team fighting their way up the order after their faulty oil line problems. Would they be able to catch up with the leaders by the end of the race? Yacht would not, forced into retirement with that engine issue.
Got an engine problem, so we have finally to retire because we cannot repair it on place or in time. So anyway, we prepare now the shipment directly to Suzuka and hope that we have more luck in Suzuka.
Yacht having to call it a night at the 8 Hours of Doha, right on the halfway mark where BMW Motorrad France were the leaders ahead of Bolliger Team and the Honda TT Legends. Qatar Endurance Racing Team, the leading outfit in the Superstock class.
We're now at the halfway stage of the race. The temperatures on the track are still extremely hot and many of the bikes are at risk of overheating. Some of the main contenders are even out already. Monster Energy Yamaha Yacht and Yamaha France GMT 94 Michelin Yamalube. Will the other bikes make it in one piece? Only time will tell.
Still riding in the night after 6 hours of competition. The Bolliger Team still in a prime position, still chasing down BMW Motorrad France. The Bolliger Team had a disappointing opening round of the season at the Bol d'Or. Everything going swimmingly though so far.
No problem, not at all. Not in the practice through the day. No, I can say we are happy with this bike with this weather condition. It's no problem.
The Bolliger Team just a few laps behind BMW Motorrad France. Still the leaders of the Endurance World Cup class. On course for a podium, the Honda TT Legends a further lap behind in third place. Moving their way back up the order. They'd climbed back up to 5th place to make up a tremendous amount of ground, and they were just 5 laps down with 6 hours gone. Superstock class, the Qatar Endurance Racing Team continued to blaze a trail, but the Pent 13 Craftwork team were putting up a challenge. Swift changes needed in order to keep up the blistering pace set in the Superstock category. Tough riding conditions at night. The TT Legends having one rider in Michael Laverty, who was undertaking his first nighttime run. Guionari and O'Hallahan both with at least some experience of endurance competition. O'Hallahan had not raced at night though. Falk Endurance still out on track despite that early setback, trying to pick up some precious points.
I arrived pushing the bike, the team repaired. When repair, listen something not well and come back to check the engine, and now I think it's okay. The other rider, no problems.
Falk with some continual setbacks in this 8 Hours of Doha. It would not be their night. The opposite could be said, though, of the Qatar Endurance Racing team. They continue to blaze a trail in the Superstock class. Still in 4th overall. A first endurance event for Anthony West. And there is the second Qatar Endurance Racing team. They were forced to retire with an issue at around the 6-hour mark of the race. A mechanical problem with the crankshaft. Calling it a night for the second Qatar Endurance Racing team in the Superstock category. The number 1 Qatar Endurance Racing team are handling their stints magnificently in the humid conditions. Another changeover for Sert as they continued their pursuit of a podium. It would be a difficult one, having taken second place at the Bol d'Or at Manicourt. We had another big setback at the 8 Hours of Doha with that oil line issue. A sweeping desert circuit, the Losail International track, the second home team making their way to the garage, and it will be retirement for Quirt 2.
Well, these things can happen in an endurance race. Well, the crankshaft broke after almost 7 hours after the race. The weather conditions was extremely hot during this free practice and during the qualifying, so the engines are exposed to a critical effort, and unfortunately happens to us, and that's it. I mean, we cannot do nothing.
The other Qatari team, the leaders of the Superstock class, things going far better for them. BMW Motorrad France still leading the Endurance World Cup class ahead of the Bolliger team and the Honda TT Legends. On to the final stint of this 8 Hours of Doha. Through the 6th hour to the 8th. It's not a 24-hour event, but the riders still very tired after their stints on track. Fatigue taking hold. The Honda TT Legends, though, holding up strong, in contention for a podium finish with their makeshift team. for a first endurance rostrum. The TT Legends, the regular riders, scheduled to compete at the Isle of Man TT, which lends the team their name. A clash in schedules, meaning the likes of John McGuinness and Cameron Donald unable to head to the desert. The Bolliger team in second place ahead of the TT Legends. Still some way off the BMW side, who are on course for victory, barring any mechanical issues or crashes in the final couple of hours. Race scheduled to finish at 1 AM local time. It would finish by night, having started by day. Race just would not be long enough for the CERT team. Close to the podium after making a comeback through the field. Time running out for them though. A creditable comeback from the reigning world champions. They would bounce back from those oil line difficulties to place fourth. Only 4 laps behind the winner. Things slotting into place at the Losail International Circuit. The 8 Hours of Doha drawing to a close. Leaders in the Superstock class, the first time that a mixed team would win an endurance event. A home victory set to go the way of the Qatar Endurance Racing Team. Team Motors event, looking to get on the podium in that Superstock class. Hard for anyone to match the fantastic performance of the Qatar Endurance Racing Team though. They were even ahead of the vast majority of Endurance World Cup teams. Fantastic endurance debut for Anthony West. Only the second endurance race for Nina Prince. Light still needed in Qatar. The Qatar Endurance Racing Team showing the way to the other Superstock teams. A nervous wait on the pit wall for Michael Bartolomé and the BMW Motorrad France crew. Just awaiting the final change. And the final timeout as the BMW outfit chased down only their second win in endurance competition. It would be BMW Motorrad France who took the win at the 8 Hours of Doha, claiming their first triumph of the season. The latest result going some way towards avenging their experience of 2011 when they were in contention for the world title but were crashed into early on by Yachts Katayuki Nakasuga and saw their dreams shattered. The previous win for the team came at the 2011 Albacete 8 Hours, BMW's first World Championship win. A win in the Superstock class for Qatar Endurance Racing. The main class triumph going to BMW Motorrad France, who awaited the checkered flag. 226 laps of the Losail International Circuit, 8 hours of riding, one victor in the Endurance World Cup class. Another win in the 8-hour discipline. And a first triumph for Qatar Endurance Racing Team in the Superstock class.
They don't have the number on. Thank you.
We walk down to Parc Fermé to celebrate the victory, which went to BMW Motorrad France, ahead of the Bolliger team and the TT Legends in the Endurance World Cup. Qatar Endurance Racing, the winners in Superstock. Celebrations in Parc Fermé. The bike brought home by Anthony West, who undertook the first and last stint for the Qatar Endurance Racing team. Winners of the Endurance World Cup, BMW Motorrad France. Back into Parc Fermé and back onto the podium. The Bolliger team also returning to the rostrum in the Endurance World Cup class.
These two guys did a really good job, and I think we made a good team, and was hard. We all came here and rode the bike the first time here at the track, and it's an awesome result for all of us, I think.
We've proved to be so fast here in the past, and the BMW and the Michelin package has been great, and this year we were fast all weekend as well, and you know, it's a real sense of relief now, the fact that we've got it over the line and we've managed to win the race and also claw back some championship points. So it couldn't have gone any better for us, and you know, I probably speak for everyone here, we're really happy.
The definitive Superstock standings, Qatar Endurance Racing Team coming home ahead of Motors Event AMT and Pens 13 Craftwork. That leaves Pens 13 Craftwork out in front in the World Championship standings ahead of DG Sport. In the Endurance World Cup, BMW Motorrad France take the win in Doha ahead of the Bolliger team and the Honda TT Legends CERT in fourth. CERT still lead the way in the overall standings ahead of the TT Legends and SRC Kawasaki, the winners of the Bol d'Or. First up for the podium, it's the Superstock rostrum. Celebrations for the Qatar Endurance Racing Team. Congratulations to them on a home victory. Congratulations also in order for BMW Motorrad France. A second endurance win for them, the first of the season. The victors of the 8 Hours of Doha for 2012.
8 Hours of Suzuka is a completely different race from all the others in the FIM Endurance World Championship. Here, the permanent teams come together with many Japanese teams that are prepared for this race exclusively. The Japanese teams, bikes and riders have all been carefully selected to achieve one and only aim: to win the Suzuka 8 Hours. With this reality in mind, the permanent teams have to try and get as many points as possible, but even this is going to be extremely difficult for them. We just have to wait and see what happens.
The trip to Japan has an enviable entry list to have the fans licking their lips. The regular teams, though, will not be so pleased to see the strength of their one-off competition.
Permanent motorbikes in Formula EVC is made to win and to finish and to score as many points as possible. Factory bikes are just made for winning. Beginning of the year, when we decided and the factory decided to participate in the 8 Hours of Suzuka, we just looked around where are the fastest Yamaha riders worldwide using Yamaha Superbike. So anyway, we had Nakasuga already, who is leading the Japanese championship, and he's used to run with our team. We checked in the BSB, the strongest European series. Tommy Hill was leading the championship and is the reigning champion. We are here in the cage of the lion, but we are very strongly factory packed, so I think we are competitive.
Obviously, there's some, advantage for the Japanese team. That's for sure. But for the Japanese team, to beat the international team is one of the pleasure. To be known to the world. This is Honda's the territory, and we come in and beat the Honda team is more than anything. We have the Josh Waters from Australia, and we have the rider from the World Superbike, Leon Camille, and also the rider from the Suzuki. The Nobuatsu Aoki, who used to be the Grand Prix rider.
I just raced the Australian Championship, so I get a little bit easier, I think. Not as much expectations on me, but I'll try my hardest and try and do as best as I can for the team. I was lucky enough to do this last year, so it was a great experience. The team are A+, they have everything sorted for you, so it's, I'd hate to do it as a privateer, it'd be extremely hard.
Grand Prix racers, superbike stars and experienced endurance outfits, all going head-to-head at this Clash of the Titans.
So that's what's expected this weekend, but right now let's jump to the paddock where you can feel the heat and literally smell that gas from those bikes with a very special guest that's going to introduce this event.
Hi, I'm Mick Doohan here at the Suzuka 8 Hour event, one of the most prestigious rounds of the World Endurance Championship. These days here, it's not supported like it was years ago, but still Honda and Yamaha and Suzuki, they all want to win it. So, I think as a rider, this is one of the most important rounds that you want to try and win. So I hope you guys enjoy the telecast, and it's a pleasure to be back here.
Mick Doohan is obviously well known by everyone at Suzuka thanks to his legendary career in Grand Prix racing. The 5x 500cc world champion also knows his way around the track as the winner of the 1991 Suzuka 8 Hours.
Suzuka is one of the worst for an endurance race, it's the worst time of the year to be having it here. I think, over the years I've been here, they've experienced typhoons, the humidity here is crazy. It's not too bad when you're actually riding. As soon as you stop and the heat starts to bury itself into your body, it's really draining, so you need to keep the fluids up. It's a tough race, and I guess that's what made it special to try and win here, and I'm sure I haven't competed in any other endurance race, but I'd imagine it's very similar, and I could never imagine doing a 24-hour race. 8 was enough to get my head sort of completely out of this space,
The The race is just about to start. The 8 Hours of Suzuka remains one of the most eagerly awaited, warmly welcomed stops on the FIM Endurance World Championship calendar. The permanent teams will fight in a grueling battle to try and get the maximum number of points possible, and who knows, maybe even a spot on that podium. The Japanese teams have just 8 hours to prove that their teams and manufacturers are simply the best.
Onto the grid at Suzuka, and Katsuyuki Nakasuga clinched pole position for Yacht. The third round of the Endurance World Championship, his lap time 2:06.845 in the afternoon's top 10 trial. That set a new circuit record in endurance. Plenty of Honda teams on display, including last year's winner FCC at TSR Honda. They drafted in Kazuki Akiyoshi, Johnny Ray, and Tadayuki Okada. Plenty of favourites and superstar riders. We just saw there Yuki Takahashi, Moto2 rider, former MotoGP rider, participating at the Suzuka 8 Hours. And also the regulars, Cert, the series leader, on 54 points overall. Yacht start on pole position, Musashi Hark Pro, Yoshimura Suzuki, FCC, TSR Honda also in the mix. The last time a Yamaha was in pole position at the Suzuka 8 Hours back in 2000 on the back of a performance by Noriyuki Haga. Cert unable to improve on their times in the qualifiers. They're 4th place on the previous day's timesheets, but they'll be starting in 8th place on the grid for this one in Suzuka. Almost 60 teams in action at this 2012 event. And the anticipation building ahead of the start, the traditional Le Mans start, used in all Endurance World Championship races. Ready to roll with edition number 35 of the Suzuka 8 Hours. One of the highlights of the racing season, not just in the Endurance World Championship, but also in worldwide motorsport. And as expected, Yacht got off to a good start. Nakasuga managing the opening stint after giving his team pole position the previous day, a first time around the celebrated circuit. Seeing the riders very close together, although there was a push at the front. Everyone making it through the opening lap cleanly, with Yacht, one of those teams, leading the way at a fearsome pace. Teams to watch out for: Musashi RT Hark Pro running the number 634. Yoshimura Suzuki with number 12. And the regulars, the number 7, the Yacht team, the pole sitters for this Suzuka 8 Hours. And it was that trio who were out in front early, setting the pace, pushing hard. The likes of FCC, TSR Honda just a little way behind the trio. Strong stuff from the front three. Yoshimura Suzuki, always a threat. A little wobble there from their opening rider, Nobuatsu Aoki. Also running World Superbike star Leon Camier and Australian rider Josh Waters. First couple of times around the track, nothing separating the front three, just a little bit behind Musashi Hark Pro. Their riders, Ryoichi Kiyonari, who was actually in action last time out at Doha as part of the Honda TT Legends, joined by Hiroshi Oyama and Tadayuki Yacht pulling out in front. Nakasuga, one of the top riders in the Japanese championship. There would be problems though with that fast pace being used by Nakasuga. Already getting past the back markers. But as at Doha in the season finale last season, Nakasuga losing control of the bike. A massive crash for the Yacht team. Considerable damage done to their Yamaha machine. Nakasuga, from being one of the leading riders, puts Yacht at a considerable disadvantage. Tommy Hill lets his opinions be known. Nakasuga in the very first stint, not even a pit stop made. And already he finds himself in trouble thanks to that low side crash on that sweeping left turn of the Suzuka circuit.
After repairing 30 laps, this means 1 hour, cars need very long time to push the bike into the pits, and then we had to repair and rebuild the completely bike, so we are 30 laps behind.
Many problems then for Yacht, who had been one of the favourites, certainly the strongest of the regular teams. And coming up to join in with the fight, FCC TSR Honda, last year's winners. Coming up right behind some of the other teams already marking the back markers. Making their way through the field, FCC TSR Honda pushing slowly at first and then getting right up into the fight. You see them past Musashi RT Hark Pro. Those really the two contenders for victory early on. Yoshimura Suzuki dropping off slightly with the first pit stops. After 2 hours, Cert up into fourth as the best performing regular team, closely followed by BMW Motorrad France. FCC TSR Honda assuming the lead with a pass on rivals Musashi and Yoshimura. That the early action in the Suzuka 8 hours. In sixth, Eva RT Test Type Trickstar and Toho Racing. Also teams with some star riders, the likes of Serizawa and Takahashi, with either Grand Prix experience or Grand Prix testing experience. A successful stint for FCC TSR. Musashi take the opportunity to change as well. And that's the end of the opening 2 hours of racing. The battle going on in the pits between the two leading teams, out almost simultaneously. Here's the standings after 2 hours. FCC TSR Honda in the lead ahead of Musashi. Yoshimura in third place ahead of regular Suzuki outfit, the Cert Racing team. So on with the action, and 4 hours in, Musashi and FCC TSR Honda were still setting the pace. They had a tremendously tight tussle behind them. Cert on the same lap and BMW just 1 lap behind. One of the main contenders for victory, though, had bowed out of the battle. Yoshimura Suzuki hit by an oil leak and a stop and go, losing them time in the pits. disappointment for them and powerless when faced with the penalty. The first penalisation of this Suzuka 8 Hours race. With the bike back out on track, we caught up with Yohei Kato from Yoshimura Suzuki to explain the situation.
First stint with Josh was not so bad. His pace was very good. But the second stint with Leon, unfortunately, he got the penalty caused to yellow flag.
So that dropped Yoshimura Suzuki out of the fight for victory. Sert moving up into second place. Going very well indeed. Just behind FCC TSR Honda. The series leaders on 54 points. Sert looking for a strong result and perhaps a podium at the Suzuka 8 Hours. And with the departure of Yoshimura Suzuki from the fight at the front, they were representing Suzuki in a big way. A quick change from the World Championship leaders. And we caught up with Dominique Melion to explain the situation that his team found themselves in. We're going well. We have the chance to keep up the pace, keep our position, and maybe move up a few places in the race and in the World Championship. Suzuka is a fabulous place to race, but it is very long and very difficult. It is very tough to keep up the pressure with so many experts here. Sert, one of those strong teams. Dominique Melian just saying to wait and see what happens. And that was the situation too for BMW Motorrad France. They were lurking around the podium spots. Going very well indeed, hot on the heels of their victory at the Losail International Circuit at the 8 Hours of Doha. FCC though still in the lead. The Honda team looking for victory number 25 for Honda in the Suzuka 8 Hours. Catching up once again with some backmarkers. A team of Akiyoshi Okada and Johnny Ray. Another regular team were also in the fight, Yamaha GMT 94. Look at that, they're right behind Musashi RT Hark Pro.
Everything is working very well. We are very happy. Just we've lost one stop at the beginning of the race. David was on the very good rhythm, and then he has ride on a metallic part on the track, and problem with the tires. So it was necessary to come in the box to do refueling, and so we have lost half a lap, I think, like this.
Yamaha GMT 94 into the pits. The team riding with just two riders, David Checker and Kenny Foray. That due to an injury to another one of their regular participants. The Bolliger team at full strength in their third visit to Suzuka, up into the top 15 as of the 4-hour mark. They would be relying on speedy changes to take them up there with the more strongly powered Japanese teams.
I think, till now we had no problem. So the race is, it's good for us. We are 14th position now, and it will be hard to get to earn more places, but we are quite happy, yes.
Meanwhile, out in front, Musashi Hark Pro chasing down FCC TSR Honda. And they would get past them before the 4-hour mark. On the same amount of laps, 110. Already a sizable chunk of the total completed for both of these strong Japanese teams. Looking increasingly like a three-way battle between Musashi, FCC and CERT. Yoshimura Racing coming in to the pits, again a problem after that stop and go. An oil problem continuing for Yoshimura Suzuki. A front quartet then being established. Musashi, FCC, Suzuki Endurance Racing Team and BMW Motorrad France. All within a lap of one another. Toho Racing moving up into the fight for the podium. That at the halfway mark of the Suzuka 8 Hours. Dead on the halfway mark then, Musashi out in front, FCC TSR Honda in second, Suzuki and BMW Motorrad France bringing up the rear for the regular teams. Entering the second part of the race, Teleru E-Mobile Kohara up into the top 10, another Honda outfit with riders Sujimura, Noda and Watanabe. Ava Trickstar just above them as the quickest Kawasaki outfit at Suzuka. Had a real tussle between the two, clocking very similar lap times. Making passes on almost every corner. Just after the halfway mark at their home round. Both teams wildcard entrants. Meanwhile, some of the regular teams still in the fight for the podium. But the Japanese teams, Musashi and FCC, clearly out in front. Trying to turn this into a two-way battle. Another pass from FCC on Musashi. To the consternation of the Musashi pit. They pull slightly away on the straight, both on almost factory Hondas. And Musashi pull into the pits for further changes. Riders tiring slightly. Musashi with Kiyonari, Hiroayama and Takahashi. And another Takahashi with Toho Racing there in the top 5. Moving up to challenge BMW Motorrad France and CERT, the two teams ahead of them.
I think its situation is very, very tough, but luckily we don't have a major problem, and the riders are still enjoying the race. So that's why we are set stable, always stable times. So that's why we came up to 4th, I think.
And we also catch up with the TT Legends.
As far as the team's concerned, team morale's all good, very high. It's been an enjoyable day. The whole thing's gone really well for us. No real big hiccups. And all three riders have done a great job, you know, from John starting off for us and getting out there and in the temperatures that were, you know, something quite different for the guys, and followed up by Jason and Cameron. So far, touch wood, it's all coming together.
The TT Legends on their trip to Japan, up into the top 15. One of those teams just looking to get as many points as possible on the podium at the last round at Doha. The winners of the second round of the series, BMW Motorrad France, pushing for the podium. FCC TSR Honda pushing for the win, taking advantage of Musashi's coming into the pits for a change to try and eke out slightly more of an advantage, and they would take more of an advantage when Musashi had a big crash. A huge fall for Kiyonari brings out the safety car. Chaos on that corner at Suzuka. Kiyonari, a winner last year of the 8 Hours.
This is a race and very risky, but we also never give up. So come back next race.
Huge damage inflicted on that Honda CBR. Kiyonari just losing it in a low side, but a big tumble off the track, setting the bike alight, bringing out the safety car and bringing the pack closer together. And here's how the race looked after 6 hours. FCC TSR Honda and Suzuki Endurance Racing Team now the two leaders. Musashi dropping out of the tussle for the victory with that big crash from Kiyonari into the final 2 hours of the race at Suzuka. Could FCC TSR Honda retain the victory from last season? The defending Suzuka champions, as it were, and really in a favourable position to win in 2012. Establishing even more of a lead. Right, just after the 6 hour mark. Things going well for Cert as well. A team who could not realistically have been expected to challenge for the win, defying all the odds despite being the series leaders. The Japanese teams were the teams most favoured to be fighting for the win. Some of the challengers falling by the wayside for FCC TSR Honda. One of the regular teams, Yamaha GMT France, had snuck up into the podium spots.
I'll cross the fingers because the temperature is very hot. We have only 2 riders because, as you know, Mathieu Lagrive has an injury. He is not coming here. He's not with us. And so I cross the finger because this race is terrible, very, very hard.
Things looking up for Yamaha GMT France, one of the regular teams in action at Suzuka. But things would take a turn for the worst for another team. Cert in the challenge for the victory, crashing on that fast left-hander. The same one that took out Katsuyuki Nakasuga on the Yacht machine. Claims another victim in the Cert bike. The Suzuki GSX 1000 being taken back to the pits. huge crash, a real setback for Sert. They had expected to go on to the podium surely in the final couple of hours. And then disaster striking. That leaving an opportunity for the teams behind them, the likes of Trickstar. BMW also in with a shout, but they would have problems later on as well. Trickstar steadily moving up the order, as were Toho Racing. The Honda team with a Moriwaki chassis. Big issue again for Yoshimura Suzuki. Once again hit by a mechanical issue. Just had not been Yoshimura Suzuki's year at Suzuka, and BMW would suffer some disappointment as well. A faulty electronic sensor. And no time to change it. That creating a big problem for BMW and perfectly playing into the hands of FCC TSR Honda, who could put a few laps between themselves and the chasing pack. BMW eventually back out with no changes able to be made. They just have to see it out until the end. They dropped out of the podium places.
We are a little lucky when the Sert crashed after second position, and for five laps ago a little problem with the electronic problem sensor on the engine, and now you can change the piece because you lose 2 times. Now it's necessary stay on the track, and we can finish 10, 11, 12, but it's the point for the championship.
BMW slipping down the order and sneaking up it. Toho Racing with Moriwaki, Yamaguchi, Takahashi and Teshima. They were right up into second place, albeit some 4 laps behind the leaders FCC TSR Honda. Steady progress from this all-Japanese team. Takahashi preparing for his stint on the Honda CBR. Yamaha GMT 94 looking good for a podium place. Once again, steady progress, seeing through. Team who won at last year's 8 Hours of Doha. One of those teams looking for further consistency in the series, but picking up a podium at Suzuka would do them no harm at all. As the lights come on, dusk settling at the Suzuka track. Approaching a full darkness before the end of this contest into the final hour, which was almost a sprint race for the podium spots. Still tremendously close. The likes of the Motomap supply team and the Honda Suzuka Racing team within the same lap of one another in 5th and 6th place. And besides FCC TSR Honda, who'd stormed out in front, behind them it was a question of a couple of laps separating the top 6. Nervous moments for Yamaha France. On course for a podium. That would certainly be a memorable result at Suzuka as Trickstar move in front. Things still tremendously crowded at the Suzuka track. Very few retirements, considering almost 60 teams in action at this year's event. And the final couple of hours of the contest to be held in the dark. Lights on these modified superbikes. Yamaha GMT 94 with the dipped headlights. Really fighting for that final spot on the podium. It looked as if the victory would go to FCC TSR. Disappointment for Eva Trickstar, a problem for them. FCC way out in front. Toho Racing comfortably in second place, on the same lap as Yamaha France, but a few seconds ahead of them. Nothing to stop FCC TSR Honda from taking victory, from winning for the second consecutive year at Suzuka. Another 8 hours triumph with some new riders. Johnny Ray, Akiyoshi and Okada. The trio taking glory for FCC TSR Honda. They win with a total of 215 laps. A brilliant performance from the one-off side. And Yamaha France GMT 94 taking the final podium spot behind Toho Racing, the runners-up at this year's event. The competition, a thrilling, intense duel. Some of the teams just missing out, some of the teams on cloud 9, including Yamaha GMT France.
Okay, I ride, and it's incredible. I don't know what to do. I don't know. It's incredible.
Fantastic performance from the top three, a well-deserved podium for the trio, a well-deserved victory for FCC TSR Honda. Celebrations all round, defending Honda's honour at the Japanese track. The top three, FCC, Toho Racing and Yamaha France, just off Motomap Supply and Honda Suzuki Racing Team.
You know, it's emotional to win this big race. I couldn't have done it without my FCC TSR team. Everyone was behind us. They gave us a great bite today. But our strategy was to stay quiet in the first hours. You know, in my third hour, I put down a very good stint, made a big push, and I was able to give the bite to Akiyoshi with a little bit of a gap. So from that point, I was really happy. But you know, big credit to this guy for bringing it over the line.
The final standings: FCC TSR Honda winning the race from Toho Racing, Yamaha France GMT 94 in third place. Here's how the championship standings look. Cert hold on to the lead, just 5 points ahead of the Honda TT Legends. Yamaha France GMT move up into third. Just the podium celebration to come then for these tired riders, but ecstatic with the result. This at a great event at Suzuka. champagne time for the trio of teams on the podium at the end of an exhausting race.
The FIM Endurance World Championship enters the final run with a tough battle at the top of the general standings. Even at this late stage of the game, nothing really seems to be decided yet. The Suzuki Endurance Racing Team, the current world champions, are leading the ranking with 60 points overall. However, they have yet to run a race yet this season without any setbacks, which means the other main contenders are ready to take advantage of any mistakes they may make.
The reality is now, with only 2 rounds left, there's probably 4 teams that can win the championship. So it makes both these races left of the championship really important, especially for us because you know, we're not really in a position to take it easy. You know,
sure, the Yamaha Austria is fast, but the BMW is more consistent for the championship, and they are the most dangerous.
Strongest teams at the minute is the BMW team. Yacht, GMT 94 and CERT. You know, they've always got a strong pace, always really fast, you know, but they do make some mistakes. So
for me, when you see the different practice, there is not a lot of difference.
So what will be the strategy for the remaining 2 races of the season?
you know, we've really got to go out there and try and win the race because we've got nothing to lose, you know. So I think we're definitely capable of it. I think if we can have a good, clean race tomorrow without any problems, we can definitely fight for the win, and I hope, you know, hopefully that's what happens.
We are fighting against bike with electronics, and we don't have electronics, and we are able to be fast, and we are fighting very hard to stay on the top.
It's a good track for Yamaha because there is not a long straight, and the engine is not the first point for this track. So I think it's not so bad, and the bike have a good seating.
Endurance racing is about finishing, and you know, this team is good at that. We've always got a good strategy. We're not the quickest team out there, but we always finish and we're always there at the end of the day. So I think we have a strong result tomorrow and a strong result at Le Mans. There's every chance we could be world champions at the end of it.
4 teams, 2 races to go. How do these teams describe themselves in just 3 words?
3 words, I guess you'd say ambitious, hungry, and hopefully tomorrow we can prove to be lucky.
Yes, fast for sure. Funny and professional.
Committed, successful and old, because most of us are old except for me.
Experienced, strong and fast.
The Oschersleben GP is the last 8-hour race of the season, and points here are crucial for the overall standings. The race is now ready to start. Returning to this circuit after 2 years, it's sure to be one to remember.
Onto the grid for the Oschersleben race then, and after disappointment at the Suzuka 8 Hours in Japan back in July, the Suzuki Endurance Racing Team were determined not to give up any ground. The reigning Endurance World Champions and current leaders in the standings took pole position. They led the way in qualifying and would be on the top spot for the fourth and penultimate round of the 2012 season. Monster Energy Yamaha Yacht could boast the best individual performance of the qualifiers with a lap time of 1 minute 26.397 for Katsuyuki Nakasuga. There we just saw a wildcard entry, Anthony West competing for the Quirt team. 4 teams all within a single second of one another in qualifying. A tight session. Would it be a tight race? Once again, Endurance World Championship lining up with the Superstock class. The top 5 teams, all Endurance World Championship teams. Suzuki Endurance Racing Team on pole for this event. The race ready to start in Germany. The traditional Le Mans start, a sprint over to the bikes, and then 8 hours of grueling competition. Winning out in the sprint to the bike pole position, riders Sert taking the early lead, getting off to by far the best start. They dominated free practice and earned pole position for this penultimate round of the season. Vincent Philippe storming away from the start. However, the race would be interrupted 2 laps in following a fall involving the number 67 MCP Star Team 67 bike. With the safety car out, that would mean that the field would be closed up once again. Serpo establishing an early lead, being pursued by Yacht in the opening stages. Katsuyuki Nakasuga once again pushing hard behind the reigning world champions. And the MCP Star Team 67 able to resume the race in last place after that crash.
We have a big crash. We have fire on the bike. We have changed many different parts, and now all is okay.
Back out on track, but with plenty of ground to make up. The MCP Star Team 67. And the Honda TT Legends were again right up at the sharp end early on, dicing with BMW Motorrad France for second place. After 2 hours, they were just 1 lap down on the leaders, Sert, and in 4th place. There are tight dice around the Ossersleben circuit. Yamaha France GMT 94 were also getting settled in at the top, attempting to follow both Sert and BMW. Yamaha GMT 94 coming in first of the front runners for a change of rider. They had brought in Gwen Giovanni, formerly of Yacht, for the penultimate round of the season, previously reduced to just a 2-rider setup. Taking on another Yamaha participant to ease up the workload. There would be another crash in the opening 2 hours. It would feature Kurt and the Bolliger team, and it would happen coming onto the start-finish straight. Anthony West sent flying into the middle of the track, taking out the Bolliger Team Switzerland bike as well. And at least it was a short stroll back to the pit. That brought out the safety car once again. Plenty of repairs to be made after that collision on the final corner of the track.
Yeah, Roman had a crash with the Kert team in the last corner here. Kert hit him on the inside, and so we lost a long time in the pit.
Anthony West back to the garage, the Kert bike being repaired to get right back out to the action.
The two riders, they just said that they touched to each other, just trying to advance one to do the other, and that's it. All the riders, I know that they are okay. The bikes, they have some little problems. Then I think that both teams, they are good now, and we are on the race again.
The safety car back in. Sert resumed their spot in the lead. Yacht right behind them. Nakasuga on the tail of Vincent Philippe. Nakasuga, who's proven to be a very speedy rider indeed. A star of the All Japan Championship. And on the tail of his French rival at this race in Ossersleben. Nakasuga, though, another big crash for him. So often pushing too hard early on, and he would pay the price. The number 7 Yamaha dropping down to 16th place and leaving Sert with some welcome breathing space. Nakasuga finally back on track, but plenty of time lost for the Yacht team. That would push the Honda TT Legends further up the field as the pit stops came thick and fast. The race is going according to plan at the moment. The times are a little faster. We've got a very good strategy for keeping in front and to hold on to our advantage. A speedy change for Sert. They re-emerge on track as leaders of the race, refueling right alongside the Honda TT Legends, who are also up into the upper echelons of the top 10. Inheriting the second place spot, BMW Motorrad France. Seem to have had a couple of problems at Suzuka. Have been suffering from a little misfortune, but still a title contender in 2012. They go back out as the provisional second place team. That after 2 hours of competition at Ossersleben.
The problem was that he crashed. Looked like that he touched the Suzuki, but we had to change some things because it was not safe bike, because the brake got loose, and we have to change a lot of things, so unfortunately we lost 10 minutes more.
Problems for Yacht. Things going well though for 3D Endurance. The team in the Superstock category with leading rider Valentin de Bies out in front in the Superstock class Team Motors event, just behind them. back to the regular competition and back to the participation of more teams in the Superstock class. Another one of them, Union Lilja Racing, in for a pit stop. The end of the opening 2 hours of competition. Here's how the standings look. Suzuki Endurance Racing Team, the leaders, ahead of BMW Motorrad France, Yamaha France, GMT 94 and the Honda TT Legends in the top 4. 3D Endurance, the leading Superstock team, as the 2 hour mark passes. Quert with some problems after that crash on the final corner in the opening stages of the race. Back in for another pit stop on the 2 hour mark. Rider Nina Prince changing in that rider relay. 3D Endurance Motor Center still the leaders in Superstock. Closely packed class, and the Superstock riders really putting the cat amongst the pigeons in the Endurance World Cup class as well. Seems like 3D Endurance Motor Center up into the top 5 of the overall competition.
We have the first position, but many bikes have the problem with. We are be careful because we know the half race is one moment for the half race, and after we look.
Team Motors event, one of those teams challenging for Superstock glory at Ossersleben. DG Sport in to make a quick change. That at the 3 hour mark of the race. The Bolliger team are taken out early on by that crash, attempting to recover some places. One of the teams who had finished on the podium this season, hit by an early blow, quite literally, from the Kurt team. On board with the Bolliger team rider, Horst Seiger. Just listen to that bike, the Kawasaki. Seiger giving it some beans and then coming in for a change for the Bolliger team. With a decent strategy, they would be hoping to move up at least into the top 15 of the overall result for Ossersleben. And thanks in part to the fastest race lap so far in the race, a 1 minute 27.426. The Yacht outfit had moved up to 18th overall, but they were now still 9 laps down on race leader Cert. The Honda TT Legends still in the top 4. A consistent team, still title contenders. And another crash, this time for the Pens 13 team. Pedro Valcaneras dragging the bike back to the pits for some reparation work. Meanwhile, in the lead, Cert managing their lead as planned after the opening couple of hours, although unable to completely shake BMW Motorrad France.
Yeah, we have a little crash. The third rider crashed in the fast left-hander, and we must push back the bike to the pit box, and yes, we prepare the bike, and Pedro goes out, the bike works well, or we lose 10 rounds. We will look.
Repair work done, but time and laps lost. Pens 13 back out on track. One of the most experienced teams in the competition, Yamalube Folk Endurance, were moving their way up the field looking for their best result of 2012. The Honda TT Legends were an outside shot for the win should Suzuki come unstuck. Masters of the pit stop. They were in to make another change. BMW Motorrad France, one of the big teams in the Endurance World Championship. And they were in second place, comfortably so. Although still a little way behind the CERT team who they were hoping to catch. CERT almost unstoppable at the head of the field. The strategy put in place by manager Dominique Million paying off to perfection in the first half of the race.
We are struggling when we want to overtake to really come up with a good lap time, and this is for this moment why we are in third position. I hope that we can make one stop less than the other people to catch back the time, so I think if everything go like it is going for this moment, a second place should be possible.
Another team hoping for a podium finish, Yamaha GMT 94.
In fact, we are between the second and third place, not so far from the first position. So the battle is very hard between the three top bikes. Of course, the Suzuki for the moment have a 50 seconds, I think, front, but it's not so far. Anyway, it is like a speed race. We must push very hard and do the best, like every time.
Approaching the halfway point of the race, BMW Motorrad France in second place. Yamaha GMT 94 looking to take that off them though. CERT so far uncatchable at the front. And in the Superstock category, AM Moto coming into the battle for the victory. Here is the standings then at the halfway point. Suzuki Endurance Racing Team still leading from BMW and Yamaha France. The Honda TT Legends in fourth place.
We're now at the halfway stage of the race. So much has happened in the first 4 hours, but that's to be expected. It is endurance racing. Another 4 hours to go. Who knows what to expect? Only time will tell.
Just past the halfway mark in the Ossersleben 8 hours, CERT unshakable at the head of the race. The fantastic pace of the riders and the strategy of the team on the pit stops really paying off for the series leader. BMW Motorrad France pushing and pushing, but unable to catch CERT. Yamaha GMT 94, the only other team who looked to be any way possible of catching CERT. Just a single lap was separating the likely podium finishers on the 5 hour mark. CERT had not been overtaken since their run out of the blocks at the start. Vincent Philippe's storming start.
Pour l'instant, la course se déroule pas trop mal.
The race isn't going too badly right now. We are still in front. We have tried to keep ahead of the teams who are in the running for the title. because maybe we might need to make an additional refueling stop and we want to have an advantage. We are holding them off and gaining the odd second, but we're still only just past the halfway mark. So we need to be patient, avoid mistakes and do things well.
Il reste beaucoup de temps, donc faut pas faire d'erreur, faut être patient et puis garder le contact comme il faut.
Cert in for another change, and once again it works to perfection. Keeping an eye on their rivals, but still running at their own pace at the front. Despite some quick lap times from BMW and from Yamaha GMT 94, there was no way for these trailing teams to latch on to the reigning champions and series leaders. The Honda TT Legends in 4th place. They would be able to capitalise on any mistake made by the top 3. Falk Endurance, though, having a few problems, not least on their pit stops. First, we had a problem with the front brake, which came loose. We lost 40 seconds there. Then on the second stint, the bike fell on the approach to the garage. We lost another 40 seconds in that incident. Falk, though, eventually getting back on track. That low speed fall not damaging the bike too much, merely losing time for the experienced outfit. The Honda TT Legends benefiting from a few problems for their rivals. One of those, the Mako Racing team in the Endurance World Cup class, experiencing an issue just after 5 hours in.
Unfortunately, after 4 hours, chain broke and smashed the engine, so we had to withdraw from the race. Unrepairable, nothing else we can do.
A retirement then for the Mako Racing team. A team who usually suffer from some bad luck. BMW Motorrad France, everything going pretty much swimmingly for them. In second place, team closest to leaders cert. They came in to refuel, whilst AM Motor Racing should have done so beforehand.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, simply we ran out of petrol. He made one just lap that was the one that was too much, and now we will have to ride very, very fast, maybe to be a bit up in the race, and we're going to see what will happen next. But for the moment, we are a bit sad, but the race is not over. So
AM Motor Racing, who had been challenging for one of the top spots, at the very least a season best performance, getting caught out by the refueling strategy. The Superstock class still being led by Motors Event Endurance and by the 3D Endurance Moto team. The closest to the win, the Kurt team with star rider Anthony West experiencing that early crash, which more or less puts them out of the running for glory. That's also Schleben, one of the fastest teams in qualifying in the Superstock class, paying the price for an early error. Team Huve took out in the collision. The Bolliger team moving slowly up the order. And another team who'd experienced a crash early on. Yacht setting the fast laps, but still some way off the top 10. The title well and truly out of Yacht's reach. They will be looking for a victory in the final race of the season at Le Mans to salvage something from their campaign. Coming in for a change, DG Sport. Strategy really crucial to the end result, especially with so many teams falling by the wayside, such a staggered field. Strategy ensuring a clean run out on track. There would be another crash to come though, and that would close up the field. The Pens 13 and Team RC2L squads coming together. Another crash leaving the riders somewhat worse for wear and the bikes almost write-offs. The ambulance and medical crew move on to the infield just to make sure that the riders are okay. The RC2L bike a complete write-off, and the safety car re-emerges.
Before us was two slow riders. The rider with who I'm driving 2-3 laps, try pass them outside, okay? Then I try pass them from inside, and after we are touched and we are crashed together. I was in a corner inside, and now and I get a bang from the left side, and now we was both on the ground.
When we are 10, another motorcycle shoot. And after my motorcycle is broken, and we repaired, and we go now for 1 hour.
Cert leading the way after 6 hours from BMW Motorrad France, Yamaha France GMT 94 and the Honda TT Legends behind them. In the Superstock class Motors event, looking on course for the victory. 2 hours to go though, and the field packed once again after the emergence of the safety car, courtesy of that crash between the Motor Racing Parts Pens team and a Team RC2L. Dusk setting in at Ossersleben, the lights going down, and Cert still in front. Team so dominant at the German round, and BMW Motorrad France, despite their efforts, unable to catch them. Their most imminent concern, Yamaha France GMT 94, who was still on the same lap as them. Staggered pit stops for the BMW and Yamaha teams. It really would be a question of strategy. Night falling at Ossersleben. Cert on course for victory. And the Honda TT Legends just waiting to see if they'd get a chance at the podium.
we've had no problems. I mean, it'd be nice to be in a podium position, but of course we're just sitting there. If anyone in front of us has a problem, we're very unlikely to pass any of the 3 riders in front, and we're very comfortable over 5th position. So it's really just a case of conserving our position at this stage and hoping for 4th or higher. That's all I can really say.
A solid performance from the TT Legends and also from DG Sport.
We are of course happy to be 4th in the race. We were surely hoping to get a podium, but from the qualifying on we've seen that at least the first 2 here were a lot faster than us. But we had a really good race pace that we are keeping up. But yeah, they're just a little bit faster than us, and we can't do nothing more than wait and see what happens to them and not to us. But for the rest, 4th is good because it's the 3rd time we are 4th this year. If in 1 hour we have this position, so it's good for the championship. Still a lot to go in Le Mans.
Just under half an hour to go. Team Motors Event leading the way in the Superstock class. Fingers crossed for the victory at Ossersleben for them. And fingers crossed for Yamaha GMT France 94.
We was more close to the BMW, but with the pace car we lost 25 seconds. So now we are 41 seconds behind the BMW, and so we will do the maximum to try to take the 2nd place.
GMT as well. I think it will play on this stop. If we make a normal stop, let's say no problem, we should finish the race in 2nd position with plus minus 30-35 seconds ahead of them. But it will be impossible to catch the Suzuki.
And that indeed proved to be true. The Suzuki Endurance Racing Team triumphing at the Ossersleben 8 hours after 313 breathtaking laps. They had to battle it out to the very end, maintaining their pace. They were just 1 lap ahead of BMW Motorrad France. Yamaha France GMT 94 unable to catch BMW. Those the podium finishers, the Honda TT Legends in 4th place. Cert further strengthening their position at the top of the provisional leaderboard with a lead of 19 points over BMW Motorrad France. Another victory for the reigning champions and the series leaders. Victory in the Superstock class for Team Motors Event. After a nervy final hour. The checkered flag out, the 8-hour race over. And backslapping all round for the victors at Ossersleben. Cert from BMW and Yamaha France, GMT 94, the Honda TT Legends in 4th in Superstock Motors Event, winning ahead of 3D Motors Endurance. Tired riders coming down into Parc Fermé. Servo delighted. An important result after their crash at Suzuka for the Suzuki Endurance Racing Team. Redemption for them.
Everything was great. Every rider doing best, and then we finished the 1st position. We are very happy, and I just want to say thank you every sponsor, my coéquipier, all the person who work for us.
I need this result for my team, for my teammate, and for me, for myself. So it's very good. I'm very happy about the race, about the championship also.
The final standings in the Superstock class, Motors Event and 3D Endurance, plus the Qatar Endurance Racing Team in the top 3. Kurt responding after that crash. The overall standings see Team Motors Event out in front in that as well, ahead again of 3D Endurance Motor Centre. 313 laps for Cert was what they needed to get ahead of BMW Motorrad France. Yamaha France GMT 94 completing the podium in the Endurance World Cup class. In the overall standings, Sert still the leaders from BMW Motorrad France and the Honda TT Legends. The podium ceremony is to come. We start with the Superstock class. The trophies raised by Motors Event. The winners of this race at Ossersleben. And setting us up for a great finale to the season. Sert on the top step of the podium in the Endurance World Cup. Champagne time at Ossersleben. The victory going Sert's way.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans will decide the 2012 FIM Endurance World Champion. In the previous 4 rounds, 4 different teams have been able to win a race. The 40 points up for grabs this weekend mean that potentially any of the top 4 teams could still win that title. The Suzuki Endurance Racing team are the ones to beat with 95 points, 19 points ahead of the BMW Motorrad France team Favet, which means they only need a top 3 finish to get their 3rd title in a row.
4 teams into just 1 position will not fit in the Endurance World Championship. We caught up with the contenders, starting with Sert's Anthony Dow.
Sure, it's a good situation, good because we are leading the championship and we just have to finish on the podium. But I want to win the race. But for the team, I think the situation is very good because the closest opponent, if they win, we just have to finish on the podium. So.
Their closest rivals are BMW Motorrad France.
It's possible, he win, and the Sert 4 position. For me, it's difficult because the Sert is very good team. I want to win first race 24. It's important for my staff, for my team. And I want to win for the World Champion.
And don't count out Yamaha GMT in 94.
For this race we have a really, really good tire. Mathieu Lagrive is come back, and I think it's a good thing for the team. So now it's really close between all the teams. We hope make a good result for the 24-hour supplement, and we hope maybe a little mistake for the Sert, because 20 points later for us is really difficult for the title.
Only one team can take the title. Who will it be?
Points up for grabs, 4 main contenders, just 1 title. In 24 hours, all will be revealed. We're now ready for the start of the final round of the season, the 24 Hour of Le Mans.
Onto the grid for the race, BMW Motorrad France taking pole position at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Damien Kudlin even improving on his best time from his second practice session with a time of 1 minute 37.039, with teammates Sebastian Gimber and Erwan Nigon topping the leaderboard. The Honda TT Legends in full effect, SRC Kawasaki watching on. They're ready to take on the challenge of another 24-hour race And plenty of teams in the super stock category as well. The likes of DG Sport looking to take the win at Le Mans. The title contenders all out on the grid. Cert, of course, the main favourites, having the lead in the overall standings. But it was BMW Motorrad France who took pole position ahead of SRC Kawasaki, Cert, Yamaha GMT 94, Yacht, Mako Racing, Bolliger Team Switzerland, the TT Legends, and the top superstock team, Team Motors Event. A huge participation at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. 55 teams in action over the course of the day-long competition. Which of them would come out on top? The final start of the season about to get underway at the 2012 Le Mans 24 Hours. Of course, the traditional Le Mans start originated at the Bugatti circuit. A race to start the race across the track. 30 seconds to go. And an Olympic effort from the riders to get the whole shot. One that it would eventually fall to Cert. They took the whole shot through Vincent Philippe. The French rider competing at his home race, muscling his way past BMW Motorrad France's Damien Kudlin at the start of the race to move into first place. BMW, who'd taken pole position for the Le Mans 24 Hours for the second consecutive year. Such strong qualifiers, but they would have their work cut out for them in the chase for the title. By the end of the first lap, they were down into third place. Battling at the front, Cert, who were in the lead, and SRC Kawasaki, the team making a cameo appearance in the World Championship at the final race of the season, having won the previous 24-hour contest of 2012. At the Bol d'Or event, they get through at the home straight at the end of the first lap. Julien Da Costa in charge of the first stint. He'd suffered a crash in qualifying for Team Green. Still very early days at the Le Mans 24 Hour. Cert knowing they just had to finish on the podium. And Yacht with a crash out for the second consecutive race. Problems for them, the former world champions rejoining the contest in 48th place after a short few minutes checking things out in the garage and carrying out a few repairs. On board with David Checker, undertaking the first stint for Yamaha GMT 94, one of the outside shots for the title. The winner of the last round of last season held in Qatar. In for one of their first pit stops before the hour mark, and a rider change as well for the French outfit. Monster Energy Yacht returning to the track after their repairs in the garage following that crash. At the half-hour mark, SRC Kawasaki had pulled out a 10.4 second lead over Yamaha GMT 94. Cert and BMW Motorrad France battling in a tight pack behind them. SRC Kawasaki specialists at the 24-hour events. And a crash for one of the favourites in the Superstock category, DG Sport. The team of Didier Van Keemeulen, Alex Kudlin and Gianluca Vizziello. A couple of early fallers then at the Le Mans 24 hour. And to cap off the opening hour, BMW made their first change of rider after 33 laps. DG Sport coming in for some further repairs on their bike. They follow Yacht in having to make an unscheduled stop through the pits. Up at the front, 3 title contenders. Cert, Yamaha GMT 94 and a BMW Motorrad France, who came into the garage to change riders whilst the battle raged on. At the head of the field, SRC Kawasaki in the lead then after the opening hour. Cert slotting into second place, BMW in third, just ahead of Yamaha GMT 94. Continuing with the action at the Bugatti circuit, out in front, the 2 favourites for the victory, Cert and SRC Kawasaki. In the garage, DG Sport after their crash in the opening hour of the competition.
After a few laps, we have a water hose that touched the exhaust pipe, and because of that it just melted it. Probably, as even if we checked everything this morning, it was the reason why we also already overheated in the warm-up. But we didn't see anything and checked everything. But here, really a lot of water got out, and well, because of that, the engine overheated 120 degrees, and this is the reason why at the end the base gasket blew by, and now there is oil coming on the tire. That's why Didier also crashed. So.
Problems for one of the leading Superstock teams then. BMW, who'd had a few issues earlier in the season, going well in the early going at Le Mans. A team who lost out on the title right at the last event of 2011. They approach the finale of the 2012 competition still in with a chance of lifting the trophy for the first time in BMW's sporting involvement in endurance racing. Cert and SRC Kawasaki following similar pit stop strategies and not relying on overtaking in the pits either. Cert trying to pull the moves on Team Green on track as BMW re-emerge from the pits. SRC Kawasaki, the leading Kawasaki team in 24-hour racing. Another participant for the factory. The Bolliger team not going so strongly at the Le Mans 24 hours. The top privateer team, though, after the opening couple of hours. A trip into the pits for SRC Kawasaki. Out on track, that allows Yamaha GMT 94 to get ahead, however briefly. Team able to assert a definitive advantage. No room for sitting back. It's going to be a hard 24-hour race, pushing all the way. There's a title on the line. And the riders and teams are very well aware of the fact and of the strengths of their rivals. With SRC Kawasaki coming into the pits, then Cert assume the spot in the lead of the race. They too, though, would have to come in for a refueling session and also to change riders. The team of Vincent Philippe, Anthony Dahl and Takuya Tsuda, the Japanese rider, in for the last round of the Endurance World Championship. Motors event AMT Assurances, the top superstock team after the opening couple of hours. One of the favourites for success at Le Mans. SRC Kawasaki lead the way after 4 hours. Third behind them and the Yamaha GMT 94 and BMW Motorrad France not far behind. The Honda TT Legends out on track, one of the only teams to have finished every race so far. This week riding with John McGuinness, Cameron Donald and Mathieu Guinness, part of their revolving door lineup that's included Jason O'Hallahan and Ryuichi Kiyonari across the course of the season. Yamaha GMT 94 into the pits, a long refueling stop, and then out to try and push for the podium and perhaps the win before dusk settles at Le Mans. There were collisions galore as night set in, including one for Team Motors event. At the front though were SRC Kawasaki and CERT looking as strong as ever. CERT in for another change of tyres and to put some more fuel in their GSX. This time just before the track cools, really crucial for putting in the laps before conditions become more adverse and caution becomes the more favoured policy. Team Motors event going strong, but they would have a problem later on. Unfortunately, we had a collision with a journalist when setting off from a pit stop, which broke our gauges. After that, the rider could not see how the temperature was rising too much. So issues in the Superstock class. They would resume the race though. Team Motors event, AMT Assurances. And there will be a more conventional problem, a crash out on track. Once again, Yacht with an issue of their second fall of the Le Mans 24 hours. The former world champions experiencing a disastrous season by their high standards, pulling the bike into the garage. Whilst out on track, there was another nasty crash between a prone rider and the Luit Moto team. Into the pits, BMW Motorrad France having problems of their own, an unscheduled stop for the French team.
As the sun sets over the circuit and the race continues, so much has happened. Already teams have retired from the race, which shows the endurance factor has started. When the night draws in, who knows what will happen?
The lights on for the teams on their bikes as conditions become somewhat trickier. The pace not letting up though despite a cold track. There's a race to be won. Le Mans 24-hour competition, a grueling test. Yamaha GMT 94 still in contention for the podium. A slight setback for BMW Motorrad France. who had to make that unscheduled trip to the garage.
No, okay, it was an unexpected pit stop even for us. So he had a brake problem and he decided to come in. So we changed front brake now, which normally we can go over half distance of the race. We need to check a little bit what can be the problem, but yeah, like I said, it was unexpected for us.
Still plenty of time for BMW Motorrad France to make up the gap. And any mistake from Sert would be capitalised on. A nighttime crash greeting the complete darkness at the Bugatti circuit. The incident proving handy for BMW Motorrad France in that it closed up the gap slightly between the front-runner teams. Amongst them, Yamaha GMT 94. A trip to the pits for them, whilst out in front, Sert and SRC Kawasaki continued to clock similar lap times and take turns in following one another. SRC Kawasaki almost treating the race as a sprint contest. Back into the garage for a brief change and a switch of riders. We've been able to get ahead and exchange passes with Sert and have a gap over Yamaha GMT. The night is tricky with the track cooling down, so we are going to continue pushing, but show the conditions a lot of respect. Back out on track, SRC Kawasaki resuming the lead of the Le Mans 24-hour. Sert in second place, the reigning world champions and the title favourites. And they were holding off Yamaha GMT 94 and the BMW Motorrad France team. In fifth place, the Honda TT Legends.
We're now deep into the night, which means a change in conditions, a drop in temperatures, and very, very tired teams and riders. But as we all know, that's what endurance is all about.
Overnight, the list of retirements rose to 13 as mechanical issues from overuse, crashes on a cold track, and collisions with other riders reduced the field. SRC, Kawasaki and Sert were still tremendously close together, on the same lap even after a night of action. Issues for Falk Endurance. You see their bike abandoned in the garage after further disappointment for them. Behind the two leaders, BMW Motorrad France had moved up into a third despite a crash and an unexpected pit stop. They were 3 laps down, but still a lap ahead of Yamaha GMT 94. Showing the way for Sert, Dominique Melion with a hands-on approach in the garage. Another rider change for the leading team in the competition. Barely visible racing action at Le Mans. It's a real test for the teams and riders, and also for the bikes. The Bolliger Team machine experiencing some problems at around the halfway mark in the contest. Of course, Saiga bringing the Kawasaki machine into the garage. Bolliger, the privateer Kawasaki team, the officially supported one, SRC Kawasaki, waiting to make another pit stop in the nighttime stint. Little time for resting up. A change of rider for Kawasaki as they continue to adjust their strategy to match Sert every step of the way. Race victory their only focus in this contest. Into the pits, BMW Motorrad France, and a nighttime change of a different sort for Sébastien Guimbert. He went out for his evening stint and came back in a year older, celebrating his birthday at the Le Mans 24-hour and celebrating it on his nighttime run. No cake awaiting him in the garage, but a few hours sleep. That is, if everyone can keep the noise down. Also a hidden race for the tyre manufacturers. Different suppliers for some of the top teams at the Le Mans 24-hour. This, of course, the most grueling race of the season for them. Very difficult conditions to prepare for. Different compounds needed and plenty of teams to supply. All done on a very little sleep.
With a new day, the sun rises over Le Mans and the scent of rubber and fuel clings to the morning breeze. A new day which will decide the ultimate heroes of this classic competition. A new day where we can really appreciate the unique spirit of a 24-hour endurance race.
Morning breaking at Le Mans. Just time for a hearty breakfast before the riders go out for their latest stint. Concentration lapsing, but it can't do for even a second for the teams out in front. The title race hanging in the balance. Just the slightest mistake could see a swift turnaround in the balance of power in the 2012 season. Teams also readjusting their strategy according to their lap times and the position of their rivals. BMW Motorrad at France doing a tremendous job to work their way back up into the podium positions, even with a crash and an unexpected pit stop. Still very much outsiders for the title though, with Sert in second place. Yamaha GMT 94 looking out of the running for victory in both the race itself and the overall competition. Still a chance for them though, still plenty of hours left on the clock. Sert could afford to take on a conservative strategy, only needing to finish on the podium. But they weren't going to risk dropping down into fourth. They wanted to catch SRC Kawasaki, who they could get past when the green team had headed into the pits. However, once SRC Kawasaki re-emerged onto the track, it would be Sert's turn to come in for a stop, and thus the circle continues. A patient wait in the garage for the Yamaha GMT 94 team. bringing in their rider David Checker for another stop. Checker keeping up the pace in the morning hours.
Until 4 o'clock in the night, it was pushing for the victory. Now it's pushing for the podium, but anyway we'll push until the end.
A strategy shared by one of the leaders, Sert. It's very difficult, especially to choose between pushing and maintaining a position. A conservative strategy is difficult to carry out, but we will be very alert to the positions at the front and keeping amongst them. Sert, no problems in the race for them so far. They can pick and choose when to push. Always having to be wary though of any incident that could knock them off the podium and put BMW Motorrad France in with a chance of the title. SRC Kawasaki almost helping them in a way by leading the race. They a team out of contention for the title. The top Superstock team, MCP Star Team. Into the final stages of the morning. SRC Kawasaki keeping up their slim advantage over Sert. BMW Motorrad France and Yamaha GMT94 could only hope for a mistake at the front as they watched their title chances fade. Yamaha GMT94 a lap behind BMW Motorrad France. Still keep pushing, however, in the chase for the podium and any good fortune.
Still push for save the podium and position, but okay, it's hard race, but the weather is very good and good motivation, focus on motivation.
Into the pits for another stop, BMW Motorrad France. The nearly men of endurance racing over the past couple of seasons have taken wins in the competition, but still chasing a 24-hour victory. The Honda TT Legends chasing their first triumph in the competition in their second year of action. And yet another incident for Monster Yamaha Yacht. This time it looks as if they will have to give up the ghost. A couple of crashes for the former world champions. They'd been cruising around trying to finish the race after their podium chances were eliminated early on with that early crash. One team avoiding a fall, Pens 13, who are in with a chance for the Superstock title.
This time I speak to my riders, he goes safe and slow, or not slow or safe, that we win the championship.
None of the Superstock riders moving up into the top places, with the competition still tough for the second class in the FIM Endurance World Championship. The main dish of the day, SRC Kawasaki into the pits once again to make one of their final morning stops. The track temperature rising slightly, enabling them to up their pace just a teensy bit. And they leave away after 23 hours. Sert in second place, BMW Motorrad France looking good for the podium. 1 lap ahead of Yamaha GMT 94. Looking good for a Superstock victory. MCP Star Team, who had a big crash at the previous round at Oschersleben. SRC Kawasaki looking strong in the Endurance World Cup class. I am very tired. We have had to double up our stints in order to keep Suzuki behind us, and it takes its toll. We will have to see out these last 45 minutes and keep up this pace. The final hour, like many of the races this season, almost turning into a sprint contest. Sert just backing off slightly. BMW Motorrad France in a solid podium position, but knowing that their title chance is almost over, bar a massive mistake from Sert and also an error from SRC Kawasaki. Yamaha GMT 94 looking like they would finish off the podium. 1 lap behind of BMW Motorrad France, 1 lap behind the top 3. Heading in for their final changeover of the 2012 season. Final switches for each of the teams. Anthony Delal stepping off the Sert bike. Vincent Philippe taking his place for the final run. The final stint is very difficult because you can't allow yourself any mistake. That could cost you the World Championship. Sert backing off slightly then, SRC Kawasaki on course for victory. Yet another 24-hour victory for them. From the early hours of the morning, they had been battling it out at the front. Just a handful of seconds between them and Sert. Julien Da Costa, Gregory Leblanc and Freddy Foray on the official Kawasaki, finally getting the better of Sert despite their endless determination to win. SRC, the specialists in 24-hour contests, they win both of them for this year. The Bol d'Or to start the season, and they bookend it with Le Mans 24-hour victory. Sert just guiding their Suzuki bike home in order to take the title. The checkered flag awaiting SRC Kawasaki. Team Green, the winners of the 2012 Le Mans 24 Hours. Further triumph for the official Kawasaki team. Dominant in 24-hour competition, but the dominant team in the Endurance World Championship for 2012. Retaining the title, it's Sert. Double glory at the Le Mans 24 Hours. BMW Motorrad France eventually coming in at 3rd place, missing out on the title once again at the final race of the season. Sert's consistency showing through. They did what they had to do to take the title for 2012. SRC Kawasaki going above and beyond with their sole objective. The title won for Sert. Disappointment for BMW Motorrad France and Yamaha GMT 94.
on the season completely crazy because we win the French Championship, Ball d'Or in March, 3 times 24 hours consecutively, mega.
SRC Kawasaki with glory in the race. Suzuki Endurance Racing Team CERT takes second place and the title. BMW Motorrad France just miss out in third. The podium ceremony for the Le Mans 24 Hours. SRC Kawasaki on the top step of the rostrum. The spraying for Gilles Staffleur. Dominique Melion sure to receive one as well. Here's the super stock standings at the end of the season. Pens 13 Kraftwerk take the title from 3D Endurance. And in the Endurance World Cup class, of course, CERT, the champions, ahead of BMW Motorrad France.
Well, that's it for the final round of the 2012 FIM Endurance World Championship. And what a climax to the season it's been. Congratulations to SRC Kawasaki that took the victory today, but a huge congratulations to the Suzuki Endurance Racing Team that are now the 2012 FIM Endurance World Champions.
We had many problems with electronic parts, but the BMW was really fast in all the tracks, and we start in the third position in many courses, and all the races have been in the podium, and for everybody in the team we are very happy.
We are so happy to finish here with a podium and for sure the title for everybody, because it's hard work during 1 year for the team, but also for Suzuki and all the sponsors, Dunlop, I think, and Motul. For sure, we are so happy about this.